Sad day today on the national briefing as we lay to rest here in South Carolina our former great senator, Lindsey Graham. I am keeping it together, wearing my black outfit, getting ready to go to the funeral services. Before I go any further, you know what, I'll just take a moment here and play some of the comments yesterday from the president at the National Cathedral.
Lindsey rose from a small town in rural South Carolina, a place he loved so much, to become a constant fixture of American politics at the highest level. He was a man who gave America the full measure of his good and mighty heart until that heart itself just gave out. Lindsey first stormed into Washington with the Republican Revolution of 1994, becoming the first Republican to win his House district in 120 years. That was Lindsey. His impassioned defense of a wonderful person, a great gentleman, Justice Kavanaugh, ended a disgraceful attack on this very good man and gave us one of the greatest moments the Senate has ever seen. I believe it was Lindsey's perhaps finest hour. But no matter how heated things got in Washington, virtually everyone, Republican or Democrat, liked Lindsey. Well, not everybody, but it sounds good. Not everybody. Reunited with his parents and reunited with his Lord. Lindsey, we love you. God bless you. And you were very, very special. Thank you.
The president is correct in saying possibly the finest moment for Lindsey Graham is his impassioned defense of Justice Kavanaugh, which was an actual disgrace what was happening in the Senate that day. But Lindsey had many great moments throughout his career, and some of them were public, some of them were private, as it is with just about anybody. And, I think a very fitting tribute to Lindsey Graham is yesterday. They have decided that they're going to, at least they're recommending that they rename the Joint Base Charleston in honor of Lindsey Graham. He was, as I think we might have played it in the clip there, 33 years serving in the Air Force and Air National Guard. Lindsey Graham gave of himself continually to this country. I didn't play the clip where the president was mentioning America needs more people like Lindsey Graham. And again, I not often, but did disagree with Lindsey, sometimes rather passionately on the air. He was a regular visitor to my old afternoon show and a regular visitor for the weekend shows and always looking to engage, always looking to push forth his position. He was tenacious and, you never doubted that Lindsey Graham had America's best interest at heart. We may disagree as to whether or not what he was working on was actually going to be in the best interest of America, and he was more than happy to take that fight on every time. The president's right. I mean, we do need more men and women to give of themselves the way Lindsey Graham gave of himself to this country. America is in a very precarious situation right now. It is obvious that the American culture is under attack. It's always been under attack, but it hasn't ever really been in a losing position. It feels as if America culture is losing ground. It feels as if American politicians are either weak or perhaps complicit in what some would say is the sabotaging of this great nation. Lindsey Graham wasn't standing for it. I'm not standing for it, but I'm not in a position of power. All I can do is continue to sound the alarms and encourage people from across the country to actually run for office. I hope that Lindsey Graham and other people, that you can hold people like John Fetterman. John Fetterman is a great patriot. Although I disagree with him vehemently on several issues, I recognize his love for the nation. we need to refoster a love of America. That, I think, is number one. And when I say a relove of America, I'm not talking about the land, the Purple Mountains majesty from sea to shining sea. Of course, it's beautiful in certain areas and other places not so beautiful, but that's true of any country. What makes America special is the actual Constitution. And what we've seen over the last couple of days and weeks from the Democrat Socialists of America is an actual attack on the Constitution. We've been hearing about this attack for a while now. You know, what do they call it? The 1619 Project that the New York Times writer put out. And so many in the teachers' unions and stuff, they subscribe to these theories that paint America in a very negative light. And of course, if you're being taught that America is not a great land, a great beacon of hope for the rest of the world, you know, as Ronald Reagan once famously said in one of his stories, he was talking about a Cuban refugee who came to Miami. And he was talking about how oppressed he was under the socialist regime there in Cuba and Castro and all that. And as he's telling the two guys in Miami about it, one looks to the other and he says, you know, you don't know how lucky we are. And the Cuban said, how lucky you are. How lucky am I that there is an America? There is a place to go to. And Reagan rightly pointed out, we are America's beacon. That's why you see in places like Taiwan and even in Iran, oftentimes at the protests, they'll wave the American flag because that is a rebellious thing to a dictator. That is, when they talk about the No Kings protests, America is the ultimate no king protest. And for people who live in this country to not recognize that, I don't know what kind of gaslighting has happened to these people, but it is a sad lot of folks who don't recognize the unbelievable opportunities that are presented to you here in the United States of America. And all they want to do is belittle and bring it down. They would rather change it so that we can align with nations that are third world in some instances. They want to align us with nations where strong men rise up. They want to align us with nations where there's very little prosperity. This is the most prosperous nation on earth. This is the greatest nation on earth in the defense of freedom of all people, not just the American people. Oftentimes when their interests align with the United States will step in and defend their freedoms. We have a great storied history, and Lindsey Graham is going to be a part of it. He's a sliver of it. He served since 1994. The Reagan Revolution, the Republican Revolution, as some called it, was a fantastic moment in time. But that time is long since gone. We need another revolution of patriotism. Who is the next Lindsey Graham? I challenge you today, if you are thinking about being the next great American patriot to rise in politics, do it. Rise up. Be that individual. You can be the voice we need in politics. I'm a voice on the radio. This is my lane. This is where I live. Where do you live? I'm just the cheering section for people like you. But we need more Lindsey Grahams. I'm going to his funeral today, and I will be very sad. But not as sad as I'll be if this country fails.
In a culture drowning in spin and censorship, this is your lifeboat, the National Briefing.